why Brexit is worse than you think. So I know there's a lot of naysaying and negativity in the mainstream media surrounding Brexit, but sometimes you have to explore the cons of a decision to be able to make a better decision. So in this video, we're going to look at the negatives of Brexit. If you want to have a look at the positives, check out my last video.
Good afternoon. The Prime Minister is urging Conservative colleagues to get behind her Brexit deal or risk having no deal whatsoever. Theresa May says there is no alternative to what was agreed at Chequers and she'll give no more ground to the EU or to rebels within her own party.
Independence and sovereignty. So we might not get them if we're still subject to EU regulations or still remain in the customs union and single market. The government wants a free trade area, minimising the risk to the economy and Northern Ireland. And of course we lose sovereignty through desperate trade deals anyway, if the economy fails.
But after years of fear, now they say there is a glimmer of hope because of Brexit, which they believe could even bring an amnesty for them.
We believe that we can come up and we can get offer from the government, because the European people will go out when the Brexit is happened. So when they go out, even the British government, they need the people. So
to do the low-paid jobs?
Yeah. So we believe that they will offer some opportunity to come as a legal person.
Since the referendum, these men say things have already got better and they've been able to get more low-paid work. Brexit was designed to reduce immigration, but these migrants hope it's them who could be benefiting from the changes it will bring.
Immigration. So India wants to get the UK to make it more accessible for Indians to get UK visas in order that the UK can get a trade deal with India. We will be maintaining free movement of people until after the transition period anyway. And of course, targeted immigration might mean nothing much changes anyway.
Come next year, if there's no deal signed by March 2019, 29th of March 2019, then all the certificates that currently allow drivers to go into Europe and bring their trucks into Europe expire. He seems fixated on Dover. He wants his solution to it is they turn Dover into a huge car park.
Operation Brock, that massive lorry car park, isn't that a solution to mitigate the customs problems?
What they've said, and they've done several viable studies into this, that each lorry, if it took 2 extra minutes to be checked, there'd be a 17-mile tailback at Dover.
More red tape. So the Brexit process is extremely complex. If we have a no deal, it would make it harder for trade across the border. We would no longer have an open border, which will mean more paperwork and tariffs to pay. It would create a huge legal headache of who pays for the tariffs and where to pay them to. Do we pay them to the EU? Do we pay them to the UK? If something's coming from Africa through the EU to the UK, who the hell pays the tariff?
The economy is about 1 3/4, 1.5, 1 3/4, up to potentially 2% lower than it would have been, okay, than one would have expected. That's a reasonable difference. And then the question, and if you map it into household incomes, where household incomes, which is also something we forecast, real household incomes are about £900 per household lower than we forecast in May of 2016, which is a lot of money.
EU budgets. While we may be paying less long term, we're also paying £40 billion just to get out. Analysis by CER predicts that the UK economy is now 2.1% smaller as a result of the Leave vote. That amounts to £23 billion per year, or £440 million per week.
Well, if they do a deal like that, it will most likely, because we'll be dealing with the European Union instead of dealing with the UK. So it will probably kill the deal with, if they do that, their trade deal with the US will probably not be made.
Trade deals. Trade deals might be harder and longer to make and more costly than might first appear. They might include things like chlorinated chicken from the US or immigrants from India. The Japanese see Brexit as an act of self-harm. And of course, Brexit might just diminish our place in the world, making trade deals less desirable.
The EU economy will grow next year despite uncertainty surrounding Brexit, according to a European Commission forecast.
The collapse of the EU. In my last video, I talked about how the EU collapse might be a good thing. But of course, the EU collapse would create severe economic uncertainty. On the other side, a strengthened EU might make it harder for the UK to gain access to its markets.
Doesn't this show that you are really weak and wobbly, not strong and stable?
The collapse of UK politics. So the country is currently not very governable at all, and power is being held on by Theresa May by necessity to get a Brexit deal done before time runs out, and not really by democracy. Otherwise, Theresa May would already be out of office, given she lost seats in the last election. With Brexit going on, the government has less time and resources to focus on the non-Brexit policies such as the NHS, schooling, etc. That might mean that Brexit leads to less changes rather than more. The weak pound. The weak pound makes it harder for companies to import goods. Everything will seem more expensive on holiday, and you'll see huge rises in inflation and interest rates. Debts and mortgages will rise.
If freedom of movement is constrained, which is likely / possible, the number of people looking after people who need looking after in the UK could well be reduced, and that has significant unforeseen consequences on healthcare and social care in the UK.
The collapse of British business. So recently we've seen a fall in the number of French, Dutch and Belgian businesses registering in the UK. That's according to Companies House. We've seen a reluctancy to invest tumble in 2017 by 90%. And of course, businesses will find it harder to find gaps in the employment market with the ending of free movement of people. And of course, it will be harder to import and export goods, given that we're now outside of the European Union.
More than 2.5 million UK jobs would be at risk, about 8.2% of all employment in the UK. And almost £140 billion of UK GDP would be put at risk annually.
The economy. We've gone from the fastest growing economy in the G7 to the slowest. The slow process of the Brexit negotiations is going to lead to a lot of uncertainty surrounding it.
Again, I can see the reaction in a couple of the rows there, you know, sort of whinging metropolitan losers can't bear it. After an election or a referendum, even if you lose the vote, you are entitled to go on making the argument.
Politics. The government has shown an inability to negotiate from the stance of getting the best parts of leaving the EU. We might still effectively be in the customs union and still be under ECJ law. We've seen an inability for the British government and the media to manage expectation of the result. For example, the pound rose before that referendum, and then all of a sudden it fell dramatically. There was no plan after the referendum for what to do in the event of a leave vote. And of course the Brexit debate went on too long. And then Parliament and the Lords has been asking for too many amendments, delaying the process too much.
Some of them started to chase us and they shouting things such as Polish, go back to your own country.
It's really racist.
It was racist, it was terrifying.
Socially, we've seen a rise in hate crimes. We've seen EU migrants leaving, which will eventually lead to shortages of skilled EU migrants in areas like the NHS. And we've seen the Remainers versus Leavers divide, a divide that never really ends and it's never united. Brexit was dealt with a severe lack of foresight and no plan. The Chequers plan that we ended up with doesn't really better the UK. Remainers and Leavers have never bothered to do anything other than separate further apart. Remainers always come up with reasons why Brexit's bad. Leavers say, oh, you're being undemocratic. And it still seems like we're having that debate. And of course, there's been a huge failure to manage expectation. Brexit probably won't be an apocalyptic event, nor will it be an Independence Day parade. It will probably be somewhere in the middle. There'll be good parts in some areas and bad parts in other areas. 10 years from now, Brexit will probably be just a blip in history, and the lives of people a decade from now will probably be just as mundane and boring as they were before the Brexit referendum. It's up to everyone to work together, manage expectation, and get the best out of what we can. But also, don't worry so much. But do you agree with me? Join in the debate below and subscribe.